The jungle did not care who was right or wrong. It swallowed everything the same way: men, gunfire, screams, and silence, until war became less about nations and more about survival. The air was thick with heat and fear during the Pacific War, a kind of heat that pressed against the chest and made every breath feel borrowed. Villages burned, families scattered, and the line between soldier and civilian blurred beyond recognition. In the middle of that chaos, amid orders shouted and lives taken without hesitation, an unlikely story began. Not with a battle, but with a child alone, crying softly where no one was supposed to care. The Japanese officer found the boy by accident. An orphan, barely old enough to understand what war was, yet already marked by it forever. The child belonged to the enemy. His parents killed, his home gone, his future erased in a single violent sweep of history. To most soldiers, this would have been an inconvenience at best, a threat at worst. The rules of war were clear, brutal, and unforgiving. Compassion was weakness. Mercy was dangerous. And yet, standing there with a rifle slung over his shoulder and years of indoctrination behind him, the officer made a decision that went against everything he had been taught to believe. He did not turn away. He did not raise his weapon. He knelt. What followed was not a grand gesture, but a quiet rebellion carried out in whispers and shadows. The officer hid the child, shared his food, shielded him from other soldiers, and lied when necessary. Small lies that could have meant execution if discovered. Each day was a risk, each night a test of conscience. He was still a soldier, still bound by duty, still surrounded by violence, but within that narrow space he carved out something fragile and forbidden: protection. He understood the cost. He knew that if this secret came to light, he would not be remembered as honorable by his command. But honor, he realized, meant something different when a child's life was balanced against obedience. The boy never knew the officer's inner conflict. He only knew that someone had chosen him. In a world where adults had failed him, where uniforms meant death, one uniform became safety. The officer did not speak the child's language well, and the child did not understand his, but fear sounds the same in every tongue, and so does kindness. Over time, the crying stopped. Trust replaced terror. And in that quiet bond, something powerful happened. The war shrank. It was no longer empires clashing across oceans. It was one man deciding that this child would live. Years later, long after the jungle reclaimed the scars of war and history reduced the conflict to dates and headlines, the truth surfaced. The child survived. He grew old, and he told the story that was never meant to be told. Not of a hero with a medal, not of a victory celebrated, but of a soldier who broke the narrative we are most comfortable with: the idea that war strips people entirely of humanity. For an older audience, this story lingers because it asks an uncomfortable question. When everything around you insists that cruelty is necessary, who do you choose to be when no one is watching? This is why the story endures. Not because it excuses war, but because it exposes how thin the line is between obedience and conscience. It reminds us that history is not only shaped by generals and outcomes, but by quiet, dangerous acts of decency that never make it into official records. A single child was spared because one man decided that the enemy was still human. And for those who have lived long enough to see how easily the world simplifies good and evil, this story offers something rare and precious. A reminder that even in the darkest places, character can still defy the uniform, and humanity can survive where it was never supposed to exist.